Hello, guys and gals. Me, Mutahar, and I love conspiracy theories. But one conspiracy theory that I'm believing is more fact every single hour is the Jeffrey Epstein situation. Now, for anybody that doesn't know, I'm going to just clue you in again. Jeffrey Epstein was one of the most prolific convicted traffickers, I would say, an individual that was connected to every high profile, powerful person in the world. So this story kind of blends beyond countries. It's not just an America thing. It's actually international. Okay, there's Canadians that have met him. There are Americans that have met him. There are Europeans that have met him. Dude, there's probably everyone from every continent that's interconnected with this guy. If you're a billionaire, you're probably in this club. If you're somebody that has the highest position of power, you probably have known or maybe even interacted with this guy. So there's this whole conspiracy about Jeffrey Epstein's client list. Who did he potentially involve in his sick and illegal affairs? A little too deeply, if you will. So obviously, the reason I'm talking about it is because the most powerful person in the world, the President of the United States, POTUS, will not stop talking about it. And it just becomes a situation where the Streisand effect takes full hold. So we're gonna get a little deeper into this. We're gonna listen to it. This is the guy. These are the people. This is the side of the U.S. Political parties that were always like, we gotta drain that swamp. We gotta pull the plug. We gotta drain the swamp in D.C. of all the corruption. Now, I'm not somebody that wants to both sides this. Okay, I know that some would say that, Moody, you're a centrist. No, I really think that this is the time where we should all be laughing at the right guys. And the best part about it is a lot of the people that kind of, are some of the big right guys that I've seen are actually pushing really hard on Trump. And it's hilarious because, to be honest with you, I think this is a situation that goes beyond, people's disagreements or what, your core beliefs are. We should all be against the elite trafficking human beings like cattle, okay? Simple as that, okay? We should all be against it. And if it turns out that one side is primarily campaigning to drain the swamp and make it so that, hey guys, we should bring all these injustices to light and bring real justice to people. If they're suddenly stopping shit, we need to all call it out. So anyways, I want to play a clip here where Trump is just losing it. Watch this.
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey. They were made quick briefing. No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden, we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible.
I love how it's like, you look earlier this year, it's like, yeah, man, all these files, they're real. They're on my desk. It's all a hoax. It's all bullshit. It's a hoax. It's a hoax. It's fake news. And the best part about it is we live in the day of social media. And, thank God people can at least fact check in real time. To which, obviously, people started looking back and going, you know what? This wasn't started with the loony liptards, if you will, right? Like, that's what everyone says here in this side of the camp. No, it actually kind of stuck with, George Bush Jr. back in the day. Claim prosecutor struck up a secret plea deal with Epstein under Obama. False. Former President Obama didn't even take office until January 20th, 2009. And yes, this is fact. This is factual. You can check this for yourself. You can just look at the dates people got into office and when administrations changed. It's really not that difficult to do basic fact checking. In fact, the next federal investigation happened under Trump's first term. So again, these were the guys that were kind of in the power to really do something about it and expose this disgusting ring for what it really is, which I think they still should do. Again, thank God that we're kind of living in an age where people are fact checking. And again, I want to stress this. This is not like one side is evil, one side isn't. This is like, look, at the top of it, if you want to look at photos, You know, Epstein took photos with like Trump. He took photos with like, what was it, like Bill Clinton? It didn't matter, okay? Like I said, like I've always been saying in this, once you get to a level of wealth and power, somehow your world's all combined. Everyone is in this pot together. And that's the shit that needs to be exposed. I don't care about the implications. I don't care if it destroys countries, even if it destroys the fucking upper echelon. If there is illegal stuff, like if human beings are treated like cattle, it is up to our enforcement mechanisms, it is up to our investigation agencies to stop that shit. So again, Trump will not stop talking, and then he started saying something even goofier this morning. Okay, this is probably one of the catalysts for me laughing and talking about this, because again, it's all the Streisand effect. The radical left Democrats have it painted again, just like with the fake and fully discredited Steele dossier, the lying 51 intelligence agents, the laptop from hell, which the Dems swore had come from Russia. No, it came from Hunter Biden's bathroom. And even the Russia scam itself, a totally fake and made up story used in order to hide crooked Hillary Clinton's big It's like looking at Chat GPT spit out a system like fucking prompt. It's crazy, dude. Big loss in the 2016 election. These scams and hoaxes are all the Democrats are good at. It's all they have. Brother, you guys were the ones that wanted to drain the swamp and expose this guy. He was a big talk. These conspiracies didn't just come from the loony left. They came from the fucking retarded right, too. I'm just saying, like, what the? Hold on a minute, champ. You can't just completely forget history. I know it's easy to fucking put your head in the sand, but goddamn. You know, like, Jesus. Also, unlike Republicans, they stick together like glue. Oh man, oh what a shame. Oh my God, are you telling me that people are not just hive-minded? Wait, that's actually a good thing. If your own base is criticizing you for some problems, it's time for you to listen to them. Their new scam is that we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax, and my past supporters, the people that aren't drinking the Kool-Aid, I guess, Heaven's Gate 2.0 isn't that culty, it seems, have bought into this bullshit hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson. Probably never will. Even after being conned by the lunatic left for 8 long years. I have had more success in 6 months than perhaps any president in the country's history. And all these people want to talk about, with strong prodding by the fake news and the success-starved Dems, is the Epstein hoax. So now it's a hoax. Now it's just, they're laughing at you. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Dems' work. Don't even think about talking to our incredible and unprecedented success, because I don't want their support anymore. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I'm not going to say it, but I really do personally think this guy is in the files, okay? That's my personal belief. You as a president should not be this again. This isn't even like saying, hey guys, let's stop talking about it. This is just getting into the points where you're insulting people for even just questioning you, rightfully so, about it. And it just doesn't stop there. It gets even more disgusting, because these fucking elites, that's what they are. It's not president. The elites in power are laughing at you. Listen to this clip.
I know you've urged people to move on, but I'm curious, why do you think your supporters in particular have been so interested in the Epstein story and so upset about how it's been handled?
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is. I really don't. And the credible information's been given. Don't forget, we went through years of the Mueller witch hunt and all of the different things, the Steele dossier, which was all fake. All that information was fake. But I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think, well, really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that.
So that's really all you need to hear. Now, it's really funny to me when I talk about the elites. So this guy giggling like a fucking schoolgirl to the right. So that guy is Howard Lutnick, who's apparently a close business associate and apparently a next door neighbor of Jeffrey Epstein. So all these people are kind of interconnected. They kind of all know each other. Again, when you're at the elite, when you're at that echelon of power and money, you just live a completely different lifestyle. It's insanity. And again, the reason why people are bringing it up is because you guys ran with this as a big point. And it's one of those points where, like, even though that, I'm not on this side of the aisle, right? At least I can once again agree and say this goes beyond anything. I can be like, yeah, it's good to at least unveil information about the worst people. And if a lot of people who have done bad things to children, to innocent parties, get burned in the process, where is the harm in that? Okay, should we not be championing for it? Otherwise, then we can all just agree that we live underneath an entire veil of apparent corruption. And realistically, we as human beings lose our right to be outraged and seeking justice when we let such a grave injustice go right by. What's really crazy is, like, you come across people who are also representatives, like this Nancy Mace, who's like, all child, rapists should get the death penalty. You see, unlike her, I'm not scared of the censorship. Like, if YouTube wants to yellow dollar sign me, go right ahead. But I'm not going to do this TikTok like, oh, this person got unalived bullshit. It's a very serious situation. And it should be, if words like that make you spark up and shock yourself, it should, because we're talking about shocking subject matter. Anyways, she ended up voting against the release of these Epstein files. So what had happened a couple days ago, and I wanted to really look into it because I saw a lot of people get outraged, but inside the United States, I believe it was the House of Representatives, they introduced a motion that would, that would basically force the disclosure of these Epstein files. And alarmingly, every single person on that Republican side, except for like one person, pretty much unanimously said, no, we don't want that stuff released. Now, generally, I don't get outraged immediately because there's always something deeper in regards to this. So apparently, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe a lot of this was tied to something known as the Genius Act, which was the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation of U.S. Stablecoins Act of 2025. So they were basically making a situation to establish a federal framework for stablecoins. So things like Tether, yada, yada, yada. So stablecoins, like buy a dollar, exchange a dollar for a dollar in crypto kind of token. Now, again, something like this would allow you to basically go to a store and maybe use like a crypto or a stable coin instead of something like Apple Pay or whatever, right? Because then you could start to exchange your crypto for coins and so on and so forth. But obviously, crypto is such an unregulated place that you need to kind of figure out, how to attach this. But again, we're kind of going off on a tangent here. So eventually what happened was a representative, Ro Khanna, introduced an actual amendment. So we'll pull up the amendment real quickly just so you guys can read it. This amendment is really short. It's just add to the end of the following new section: preservation and release of records. So again, it's the Attorney General, which would be Pam Bondi, shall retain, preserve, and compile any records of evidence related to the investigation, prosecution, and incarceration of Jeffrey Epstein. Not later than 30 days after the date of the enactment of this act, the AG shall release and publish any records or evidence related to any investigation, prosecution, or incarceration of Jeffrey Epstein on a publicly accessible website. So this all seems pretty good. And I've seen a lot of people twist this and say, oh my God, were they asking for agencies to release illegal tapes like CSAM material into the public for anyone to consume? That's not anywhere close to what's being asked. Obviously, if you want to logically apply something, things will be redacted. The government's not just going to be releasing illegal CSAM material for no reason. They will, however, and should release records and relationships that everyone wants to see in regards to Epstein. There's nothing wrong with that amendment. But obviously, I wanted to look even deeper into this and see why it was voted against. Now, I'm not a huge follower of U.S. the legislative framework, if you will, but from what I understand, now according to the guys over at Axios, what it came out for was that obviously when this amendment was attached, the Republicans were against it because it wasn't pertinent to this, crypto token that would, create this stablecoin regulatory framework. Which again, you could have just made a new amendment down the road or a new piece of legislation, maybe voted for that. But we'll get down to that in a second. And then the other thing was, this was one of those votes where it becomes a procedural vote, right? So they didn't want to give the Democrats any partial control of that House floor. And again, when you vote this way, apparently it's about party discipline. So what happens is, generally speaking, you have to all vote one way. You can't, vote with your feelings. You have to vote with your party. I believe there's even like whips and stuff that come in and like specifically make sure that you're voting on their side, whether you want to or not. Okay. It's a wild system in the US government. It's how you ensure, I guess, party solidarity. And again, there was one guy, I believe it was Rolf Norman from South Carolina, who's like, you know what? I actually would like to vote again. I want these files to be released in amongst that genius act. So again, that was the core reason why. It wasn't that like they specifically introduced this act and every Republican voted against it, which also begs the other question, right? Like, sure, nothing is stopping the party that wants to drain the swamp from introducing a separate piece of legislation that specifically focuses on releasing this material. And then you all can vote yes on it, right? Whatever side you're on, you all can unanimously say, yeah, we support exposing diddlers and exposing trafficking networks, and seriously, we want to expose people that treat human fucking being like cattle. Then there would not be an issue. It's really wild because, like, again, this is the group and party that wanted to drain the swamp. They wanted to expose that corruption. But realistically, I think anybody that like voted for this thinking that things were going to change, there's always that meme "you fell for it" award. Like, you fell for it. I really think that people fell for it. And, I'm a jaded guy. Like, to be real with you, people always like look at me and think, okay, this guy's just being a centrist. I'm not a centrist, okay? Like, let me be completely upfront with you, okay? I don't ever really like getting into the political side of things, but, if you've watched me long enough, I think you guys probably know that I'm like a liberal, like left-leaning guy. But I'm also somebody that really doesn't trust the party powers. I'm not somebody that trusts any of these like established groups, because again, I'm just somebody that thinks when you have all this money and you have all this power, it doesn't matter who's in power at that moment. They're all in bed with each other. That's what I personally feel. I feel like we've had so many years of these like files, possibly we've talked about this for over 7 years now, and there have been different dynamics, and this person and the connections he had has been protected for so long. We've only ever been able to slightly peek through the veil. But that's just the reality we're in. But now I really think it's important to put the pressure on at least those Republican guys, because they're the ones that wanted to expose this information from the beginning. Now, when you have that opportunity, now when it's presented, suddenly Epstein is a hoax. He's just some fucking loony conspiracy. But you guys were the ones that brought the conspiracy. You guys were the ones that stoked the flames. So now that you're getting burned, we should feel fucking bad? No. If anything, I only have one person that I care. I only have one group of people that I care about in this story, and that is the victims. It's always been the victims. Because realistically, it takes a lot of balls to come up and speak against Epstein. And the thing is, now they've been basically thrown out. They've basically been left to the dogs. And now they'll have to. Now they know that they're only out. They have to effectively try to survive on their own, because now that the government has basically covered this up, it's open season on those fellas. Now, one thing that I want to also end on too is that again, this is a party that wanted to, really be transparent, and obviously there's even more new information that has come out that apparently that video, the prison footage that we saw, and I showed you guys how to do basic metadata analysis. Well, forensically, people also looked more into that footage, and they found out that apparently it wasn't just a minute that was cut out of the footage. It was around 3 minutes, 2 minutes and 53 seconds to be exact, were removed from the 2 clips that were basically put together in Adobe Premiere. So again, we have to ask these questions. What happened in those 2 minutes and 53 seconds? Why were they removed? Who is the account, MJ Cole even, right, that put together the footage inside Adobe Premiere? Again, this is the worst cover-up that I've seen, and it's probably the worst cases of lying. And the more, people like Trump want to just keep saying it's fake news, it's false, the more people are going to poke and prod. And it really feels like this is one of those situations where people are more unified against this sick cause than just, drinking the Kool-Aid of whatever political cult that they've joined. And that's actually a good thing. When people ask questions, when people champion for the truth, when people try to get to the bottom, when people actually point out, inconsistencies, as they've rightfully been doing, that's a good thing to see. And people should be doing more of it. because this is a very important pivotal point. This is a very important point in justice. You know, again, maybe this list doesn't exist. Maybe none of this stuff exists. But I'll be real. At this point, I don't believe the government whatsoever. I do think that there's something really shady behind it because of how shady the government and the people who are at the top have been acting. But whether this destroys the world or not, I do at least want this transparency to occur. Because if a country like America can't be transparent, no other country can be transparent. It's actually funny too. When my dad immigrated to North America, one of the biggest problems back home was corruption. The government just was above the law. You know, you couldn't seek truth from them. You couldn't do anything. And, you know, when you move to North America, whether it be Canada, whether it be America, the United States, you know, these are countries that kind of pride themselves on being uncorruptible, even though obviously nobody's uncorruptible. But, you know, to see that even if you move your entire life to someplace better, right? The powers that be kind of are still the same. Anyways, I'm getting too much into the black pill arc, ladies and gentlemen, but I will keep talking about this because it is just a story that keeps getting fucking more insane day by day. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike if you dislike it. I am out.